Apple is trying to do anything they can to get us to buy this iPad and to spend more money. And honestly, I have to say that I feel bad for the engineers. I use this thing every day for a week, so is it really worth it? Well, I have to say that this is the best hardware of a computer ever, at least for me. Now, of course, one major thing that made headlines is just how thin it is. And was it worth making it this thin? I say yes. Now, you guys have seen people bending these, and anybody can bend something that is thin. But having such a thin and lightweight design has made it possible to comfortably use this 13-inch model in your hand for a long time. Even for gaming sessions, it is now fairly comfortable. Still not as good as something small, but it is doable, and I still appreciate the design and how it feels. Because of that, using it with the new Magic Keyboard, it is now the same weight as a MacBook Air, where before it was actually thicker and heavier. So it's just such a nice package to take with you, to have with you on the go, and having that ability to remove it from the keyboard and use it as a tablet is amazing. Now, one thing that reviewers got wrong is the whole 60-watt charging. We even fell into this, but in our tests, we never saw it go anywhere near that high. What we saw was up to 40 watts, and that is actually the max. Now, yes, Apple was right when they said that this pass-through through the magnetic connection can offer up to 60 watts, but the iPad doesn't make use of it. So it's still gonna take about 2.5 hours to charge if you have a powerful brick, but with the included 20 watt, you're looking at about 3.5 hours. And thankfully, even though it is so thin and we have this OLED display, the battery life is still great. The only time I noticed it going down was when I was gaming, and then I'm maxing out the settings and I could tell it's going down. But other than that, using it for web browsing, watching movies, typing on it, it is really nice. Now, I have to talk about the performance because this thing has the craziest chip in it out of any computer. They threw in the M4 chip, and this just kind of shocked the world. We kind of expected it to possibly come out, but it's incredible. And single core beats out anything else out there while being in a 5.1 millimeter device. That is nuts. Multi-core is also insane. But the weird thing is, inside, it actually has 12 gigs of RAM on the base. That doesn't make sense because you only have access to less than 8 gigs. And the same thing with the 16 gig model. If you decide to buy a 1 terabyte for a ridiculous price, you have more RAM than what you have access to. We'll see if that changes anything. I'll talk about software in just a bit. But Apple also packed in a 9-core or a 10-core CPU, which is a first. Now, we did a full comparison, and yes, the 10-core is faster, but you do not need it. It is not worth spending the extra money, and the same thing for getting the extra RAM. The difference is so negligible that you're basically wasting money unless you need that extra storage. And in my time using it, never once did it feel slow with the 9-core model. It is incredibly fast. Now, the thing that stands out the most, other than having that thin design, is the display. Yes, it is the world's best display, and this was the only device where I felt, wow, this screen is too bright. I need to turn this down. Usually it is the opposite. It is crazy. The tandem OLED is amazing. It is better than the mini LED, a lot better than the LCD. But that brings me to a question. Is it really worth upgrading from an older one just for this? And I have to be honest and say that for most people, no. iPad screens still look great, so unless there's a very particular reason, like if you love using this outside in the bright sun, it is the best, but it's a whole heck of a lot of money. And watching videos is amazing on it, and the sound is still so good, beating out the MacBook Air, which is, a large full-size device. It is the ultimate Netflix and YouTube powerhouse. It's the ultimate portable system, and with this new keyboard, it is such a nice typing experience. The trackpad is so good. I mean, this is a really nice step up. Of course, all of that is luxury because the old one still works. We did a full comparison, but having the function row at the top, all that access, it is so nice along with the rest of the hardware. And of course, the Apple Pencil. Once again, that's a whole nother step up. The squeeze function with your haptic feedback being built in. The barrel roll is so nice. Now, of course, like most YouTubers, we are not artists, so not a lot of people can make use of this, but Apple is just so sneaky with this whole system. If you finally wanted to update, you have to get this new one, and you want an extra performance. If you care about that, you gotta step up. You need the new keyboard, you need the new Apple Pencil. That is just so much money, and even just the iPad alone costs more than a MacBook, not including adding in the keyboard, adding in the Apple Pencil. This is just one expensive device. And because of that, after a week, is it really worth it? I would say no. The people that have been sticking with their 2018 iPads or their M1 iPads, for most of you guys, it's not worth spending the money. You can get such a great deal on those devices right now, and you could deal with a little bit extra thickness. You could deal with some blooming on the mini LED in the rare situations that pops up. And that is mainly because Apple has done nothing new in terms of software. So many times in the last week, I have needed to pull out my MacBook and to use that instead. Now, when I wasn't limited by the software, it was nice to use it, but it is still an accessory device for most people. And even though I love the 13-inch, I think that the 11-inch is gonna be the better device. You save $300 or $350 if you wanna get the keyboard. And even though this one is thin, if you use this for notes, you're using it handheld, it's still nicer. So I like this as an iPad, but once again, you're spending $999 now, and that is a whole lot of money. Now, if Apple actually did what their patent showed, and you have the tablet and it attaches to the keyboard and you get a full desktop OS, that would be a game changer. That would be what would be worth spending the money on this kind of a device. But at this point, I feel bad for the hardware developers and all their engineers creating an ultimate hardware solution, tablet, keyboard, everything, basically the best hardware, but it's still an iPad, a really expensive iPad. Now, just like in previous years, we're all waiting on WWDC, getting your hopes up that Apple is gonna push this to what it's capable of. It's capable of running full Mac OS, but after all these years, I'm sitting here disappointed and my faith is going down and down because I don't think they're going to do it. So you guys let me know your thoughts. Are these the best iPads ever? Yes. Is the hardware and the keyboard and accessories excellent? The display? Yes. But is it worth the money? It is not. And if I was just a regular person, I would go and buy a discounted older iPad instead, because still very similar. Most of the things you could do is identical with both of them, and you don't have to spend a crazy amount of money on an iPad. Thank you guys for watching. Check out all of our great comparisons. If you really want to get into the details, click that circle above to subscribe. This has been Max, and I'll see you in the next one.